Hello everyone and welcome to my reading wrap-up for my August Catwalk TBR game. I did not complete all the prompts, which is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. So I started out with 5 rolls. I ended up getting a couple of doubles. So I ended up with 8 total prompts to work from. And this was the last round of my general Catwalk TBR. It doesn't mean I'm never going back to that board. It just means I have created a fall board. So you will have seen that board if you watched my September Catwalk TBR game. You will have seen that board already. But yes, I am excited for the seasonal one anyway. And I'm planning on doing the same thing for like winter. So which will be including January or December, January, and February for that one. Anyway, let's go ahead and tell you what books I selected and if I was able to read them and just some very brief thoughts on these. So roll number 1, I ended up on Kitten and Adult. So for my general Catwalk TBR game, for this one I do a flip a coin type of a thing. If I land on heads, it is a book that was published 5 years ago or more. So it's 5 years old or older. Tails is just the exact opposite, 5 years old or newer. Well, I got heads, so it has to be a book that was 5 years old or more. For this one, I selected The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I'm sure I said that wrong. This one was published in 1988, and unfortunately I ran out of time and did not get to this book, but I still plan on getting to it. I think it sounds really good. Book number 2 was Catstagram. For this one, I used to scroll through Instagram and then base a book off of the picture on Instagram. However, there are people that I follow whose accounts are private, and so they do not want their pictures out there for the public to see or pictures of their children. So I stopped doing that and just to respect their privacy and to not risk putting a child up there where the parent doesn't want the child up out there. So I just did a random picture generator and I ended up with hourglasses that were in the color of green, gold, and yellowish sand. For this particular book, I selected Silence of the Lambs because I figured they're on a time crunch to find a serial killer or a murder. So Silence of the Lambs, written by Thomas Harris, unfortunately did not get to this book. Next up, I landed on What's My Name? This was a random word generator. I landed on Effect. So I selected The Runaway Duchess by Joanna Lowell. Again, I did not get to this book. Doesn't sound like it's going all that well, does it? Anyway, but I'm still looking forward to getting to that one. I'm looking forward to getting to all of these books. August just wasn't the month for them. So, okay. So prompt number 4 was bird watching, and this is to read a book that has an animal on the cover. This one I did get to. I selected Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Now this, when I say Philosopher's Stone, that's because this is the UK English edition. On the slipcase there is an owl delivering a letter on the back, but on the actual hardback book for this edition, there's your animal on the cover, an owl delivering the Hogwarts acceptance letter to Harry Potter. So 5 stars. I love this world. It's a great way to escape, and I don't know, I always have a great time reading it. So 5 stars. Let's go ahead and move on. Next up was Sea in the Dark. This was to read an ebook. For this one, I had an ebook that was gifted to me via PDF format through my email from an author. Unfortunately, I ended up DNFing this book, and that was Fire Burns by Anna Stanojevic. I can see a lot of the potential. Unfortunately, I felt, and this is my own personal thing, I felt like it was trying to be more mature, but the writing was much younger than the content was trying to be. That just really bugs me. There's been other books that I've read like that, and it just rubs me the wrong way. And it was the same issue with book number 1 because Fire Burns is book number 2 in a series. I pushed through it for book 1. I ended up giving it like maybe a lower 3-star, but it's like I can really see the potential, but the writing just did not sit well for me. But come number 2, I was like, I just can't take the writing style anymore. So it's just not my cup of tea as far as the style of the writing. And I can't really tell you anything about it because I just couldn't get attached to the characters. So, which is unfortunate, but not every book out there is for every reader. if that makes sense. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Next up, I landed on Catnip, and this is to read a book that is 250 pages or less. So for this one, I went with the manga, and I went with The Liminal Zone by Junjun Ito. This is just over 200 pages, and this is a collection of short horror stories, all written by Junjun Ito. So in this particular book, for The Liminal Zone, you have, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. You have 5 stories in this one, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 4. Excuse me, 4 stories. So the first one is called The Weeping Woman, which is about a woman who goes to a funeral, and in order to pay respects for the dead, they weep. Okay? You have Madonna. Madonna is about people who are looking for the reincarnated Virgin Mary and the reincarnated Jesus Christ. So, yeah. The Spirit Flow of Aokigahara. There's a bunch of spirits that come out of a cave mouth, and people stumble upon it, and you're finding out their reactions and how they feel about it. So, and then the last one is Slumber, which is about a man who's having trouble with his memory and has trouble sleeping. And there's also a serial killer in town. So, yeah, so a bunch of horror short stories. That's all I can tell you without spoiling anything. It's a manga, so it makes it that much more difficult because you're not getting a lot of depth to it. But Junjun Ito has a gift with being able to portray that depth in the images and what the characters say. So you're not getting the descriptions, but you do see it, and I think he has a great talent for this, and I love his work. So again, 4 stars. Next, I landed on Paw Print. This is to read a book that has texture on the cover. So for this one, I went with Anything But Typical. This was the August selection for the Autism Reads. The link is in the description box. And this was the selection. So there is, as you can see, there's a thing right here, and it has Braille on it. So that's what I'm counting for texture on the cover, because this is raised up as far as that goes. So that's the texture on the cover. You're following a 12-year-old. His name is Jason, and he is autistic. And so this is all told from his perspective of what it's like to be autistic and going to school and dealing with a bunch of stuff. He loves to write. He has a gift for words and spelling, and that's his gift. Now the author is Nora Raleigh Baskin. She is not autistic from what I could find out in the little research I was able to do. So, but her character is based on the research that she has done into the autism community. So there is a lot of stuff that you would say is very typical with what you see in a lot of books or media for how people that are autistic are portrayed. But I felt like she did good enough research that it actually was handled pretty well. Because it's told from the autistic kid's perspective, you're seeing, he talks about how he felt and what he was thinking in certain situations, which I could definitely see. Like there's this one part where he talks about hiding under a table and how he felt with that. I did that as a kid. I hid under tables because my emotions were so overwhelming. Hiding under a table was like a safe place. It was darker, and I just felt like I was sheltered from everything external. So I loved seeing that in a book. But yeah, so I ended up giving that one 4 stars and really enjoyed that. Okay, so the last prompt I landed on was What's My Name? Random word generator. So this one I landed on the word place when I generated it. So a book that takes place at some kind of a place. I chose a work setting. I selected The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and unfortunately I did not get to that book either. Now, there are 2 additional books I did get to. Well, actually 3. I also 4. 2 ebooks and 2 physical books. So the 2 ebooks, one ebook, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's one that I won from Goodreads. And again, the writing style, I just couldn't take. It was rubbing me the wrong way. Just not for me. The other ebook I got was Enter the Witch, and I enjoyed that one. It was a novella, so that's all I'm going to say. So that's the additional book that I read. I have yet to do the review for that one, and I think the review for that will be out after this video, so you'll know more about it as far as the author and the content and everything. The other books I do want to tell you about, I read book 2 in the Harry Potter series, so this one's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. was fun being back in that world. 5 stars as usual from me. The next is that I was a first-time author for me, and I read Addicted to You. This was written by an author duo, Krista and Becca Ritchie. This does get spicy. This deals with alcohol addiction and sex addiction, and it goes into quite a bit of detail as far as how you have 2 addicts that live together end up enabling each other in their addictions, and how much of a struggle it can be to recognize how deep in their addictions they are, to the point that things start to hit the fan and fall apart and they need help. So just be aware of this. A lot of hard content in this, but I really enjoyed it and I look forward to continuing this series. Now, one thing I do want to bring up is in this book, there's a playlist. And so I went to Amazon Music and listened to the songs. And I can definitely see, like, if this book was made into a movie, I can see those songs definitely being the soundtrack. Let's see, where is, oh, I think it's at the end of the book. Yeah, so they do have a playlist of songs. There you go. So the songs are Wildest Moments by Jessie Ware, Habits Stay High by Tove Lo, Lost My Mind by The Head and the Heart, On the Rocks by Greaves, Let It Go by Fossil Collective, Trembling Hands by The Temper Trap, Pasadena by Modern Skirts, Two Fingers by Jake Bugg, Worthy by Jacob Banks, Life is Hard by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, Animal by Mike Snow, Lose Your Soul by Dead Man's Bones, and Pleasant Street / You Keep Me Hanging On by Tim Buckley. So I had a fun time reading this. It was great, and I was addicted to this series and ended up getting the whole series. So I had a great time with that, but I did want to share that, especially with the playlist in there. So I do have that playlist on my phone now, and I have listened to it. There's another romance book that I read that did not make it into this wrap up because it was included on my magical readathon, and I did forget to mention that book. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher also has a playlist in it, and that one's at the beginning. And again, I can definitely see this playlist that was created in the book, if it was made into a movie, would definitely be the soundtrack for the movie. So anyway, I had fun with these books. Let me know if you have read any of these books, what your thoughts on these books are, and what was your favorite read for the month. Talk to me in the comment section below, and until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.